Good morning, everyone. Illinois Extension is happy to host another webinar in the series for the Illinois Digital Equity Capacity Grant. And we're really happy to have the Illinois Broadband Office and the Illinois Broadband Lab on these webinars to continue to push out really important information and guidance on this opportunity. I want to thank Hillary Raines from the Illinois Office of Broadband for being here and leading the webinar today. Without further ado, I'll pass it to you, Hillary. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and thank you so much to the Extension for always supporting us on these webinars. We could not do this without you. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to talk today about the Illinois Digital Equity Capacity Grant Series. If you have joined us before, we've done a couple of these about project types and also how to incorporate data into your storytelling for the grant application. Today, we're going to be talking about the project types, specifically computer technology centers and community broadband planning. There we go. A quick little agenda going through just the context of the Digital Equity Capacity Grant. Most of you, I think, are familiar with some of that. Going over the two types of project plans, and then we'll hear from a real life example of one of these with Hannah Iller with Carlinville Public Library. We'll make sure that you are familiar with our upcoming and available resources for your grant application. Then we'll have some times for question and answer. So feel free, if you want to drop those in the chat, we can get to them. Or if you want to wait and ask them at the end, feel free to do that as well. So we are going to understand those project types. We're going to explore some examples of successful plans and learn more about those IDEC project planning resources. So here we go. Let's do a quick overview. Some of you know me. Hopefully most of you do. I'm Hillary Raines. I am a community engagement manager with the Illinois Office of Broadband. We have our broadband team here in Illinois, and we work really hard to expand broadband access and also digital equity opportunities throughout the state. So you probably also know that there are two halves to our team here. We have our state side, which we are the Illinois Office of Broadband with DCEO, and we also have our university partners over here with the Illinois Broadband Lab. What you might not know is that we have many, many people on our team now. We're very excited to have a growing team even. We've got some availability over there at the Broadband Lab, some new positions there. We not only do grants management and grant compliance, but of course, myself and my team, Ling Ling Liu and Alicia Ross, are community engagement managers. So we are all over the state all the time. Talk to us. And our newest folks are our policy people. Shauna and Stephanie are helping us out with those and keeping on top of all of the broadband policy that's going on, not only nationally, but statewide and even locally. So again, most of you are probably very familiar with digital equity, but we like to make it a touch point when we start talking about digital equity and inclusion. The official definition here, digital equity is the condition in which individuals and communities have the information technology capacity that is needed for full participation in the society and economy of the United States. We live and breathe that definition every day, so we want to make sure that everyone's familiar with it. So digital equity is the philosophy and digital inclusion are the activities. These are the things that we do getting out in the world and making sure that people have access to use of affordable information and communication technologies. So not only just access, but also the devices. You can't very well use the internet if you don't have a device to access it on, or the skills to know how to use it. So we really support that digital skills training, tech support, but also that privacy and cybersecurity facet. You probably know someone who's a little wary of the internet because they think, oh, my identity is going to be stolen, or I'm not sure who's on the other end of that text chain. So we want to make sure that everybody has the skills to take care of themselves and make sure they're safe online too. We use that word equity very deliberately because that word accurately acknowledges the systemic barriers that must be dismantled before achieving equitable outcomes for all. You're probably also familiar with our Illinois State Digital Equity Plan, a little light reading for your weekend, only about 202 pages. But you don't need to read all of the pages if you don't want to. We are here to sum it up for you. So, the Digital Equity Act provides over $30 million for us to implement the things that we put in the plan through these kind of 5 implementation steps. The one we're talking about today, of course, is the grant program. So can't get anything done without some funding. So that's what we are talking about today. That plan vision, of course, universal access to high-speed broadband that is affordable, reliable, and fully scalable. We really want to make sure that all of those things are there because one without the other, it just doesn't work out, right? So we're going to leverage those new and existing resources to make sure that communities can identify and address their specific needs. And we're really wanting to empower all Illinoisans, everybody, to use and participate fully in our digital economy and society. This is also a review for folks. We have these 8 covered populations. We're prioritizing these because these are identity groups, then communities that are disproportionately impacted by digital inequity. When you look at the stats, these are folks who have larger gaps in their access stats, right? So the thing is that it's not just a few people, it's 80% of Illinoisans across the state fall into one or more of these categories. In fact, I'm down here in southeastern Illinois today, and 100% of the people down here in southern Illinois fall into these categories, especially those rural inhabitants. And this may be new for some folks. So we have launched the Illinois Digital Equity Capacity Grant, and these are the dates that are important to you. We will review these a couple of times, and of course, as we said, these slides are going out to you. So we launched on February 3rd. We were very excited to do so. The wave 1 will be for 45 days out to March 20th. If you would like our grants team to take a look at your application and just make sure you have all of the parts necessary, that we're not going to say, oh, you're missing a form, we can't look at your application, right? We want to make sure you have everything you need. So if you would like our grants team to do kind of an early review so we can get back to you, get that in before March 4th. We also recommend getting it in before March 20th at 5 p.m. By the way, that's not midnight, that's 5 p.m. Central Time. Because everyone trying to, apply at once sometimes not always great for our system. We are the Office of Broadband, and we're still trying to fix those systems. So keep that in mind. We also have wave 2. So once wave 1 starts, wave 2 will be open, and that will go out to May 8th. And just like the first wave, that also has an early review deadline. The total amount of funding expected is about $13.5 million. We're very excited about that. And awards will range from $30,000 to $300,000 on an annual basis for a 3-year term. So that's every year you would get that amount for 3 years. It's a 3-year period of performance, and that would begin, we're estimating, about summer of 2025. Here are a little bit more detail about that. Like we said, 45 days for wave 1, 45 days for wave 2. We are really, really hoping to get out there and make sure that we've got programs that can cover not only geographically around the state, because we want to make sure we're getting our funding everywhere, but also making sure that we are hitting all of those covered populations. We want to cover everybody that we possibly can. So if you're not selected in wave 1, it will carry over to wave 2. If in wave 1 we say, oh, everybody is applying from the north part of the state, we don't have a whole lot from the southern part of the state, we're going to go to the southern part of the state where I like to hang out. And go and tell people to apply. I don't think that's going to be an issue. We have lots of people around the state who are very excited for these opportunities. Good deal. I see some more questions there in the chat, and we will get to those. A review of your dates there, and we will review those again. So eligible entities, like we say, foundations, partnerships, Native tribes or Native Hawaiian organizations, educational agencies, workforce development, local governments, community anchor institutions. A lot of people are going to be eligible for this one. We really love partnerships because that, of course, increases everyone's capacity, and that's what we're about here. But if you have any questions about that eligibility, let us know. Take a look at the notice of funding opportunity. It will really spell it out there for you. All right, and our project types here. So we have the five. We've already talked about digital literacy and skill building and device distribution. This Friday, we are going to be talking about digital navigator programs, but today we are going to be talking about these two, computer centers and local broadband planning. Your application needs all of these things. Again, take a look at that NOFO, make sure you've got everything you need, make sure you're demonstrating the need in your community, and especially for the covered populations that you hope to serve. What your capacity is, make sure your proposal has a lot of high quality data and aligns to the digital equity plan. Again, it's all in that NOFO, all in that application, and that can help you out there. Support from the community is a big one. Having a budget that aligns with your program and also planning for sustainability. We are very excited that this program goes out 3 years. We would love if you have ideas about how to extend it beyond that, right? Beyond those 3 years, make sure that you continue to be a resource to the community in whatever ways you can. So we'll get to this first project type here with community broadband planning. I will say our good friend Tony Grant there from McLean County, he was going to come and tell us all about their plan. But alas, he is ill today. So I am going to get you some information about local broadband planning. So this is specifically resources for communities to create their own roadmaps to expanding broadband connectivity. This is access goals, accessing market and consumer dynamics, et cetera, et cetera. Private and public partnerships are a big one there. Essentially, we say that every, county, every region in Illinois is its own region. It has its own needs, and that's going to be different everywhere you go, right? So we would like to see some of these local plans. How do you get started without a plan? You can't. So you want to take a look at the state of your community and its particular needs, the physical scope of your broadband access. Are you looking at a city? Are you looking at a township? Are you looking at a county? Are you looking at a couple of counties? Are you looking for a whole region? What is the physical scope of your plan there? Coordination with your local governments, infrastructure providers, other community organizations. Broadband is a big, big task, as we all know, right? It's going to take more than one organization to get it done. It's going to take a whole community coming together and working together. So, to create that unified plan to meet the needs of your community. So, what we recommend to be able to hit all of these things is to create what we call a broadband feasibility study. So this is something you can work with your local agencies, or you can hire contractors, planning firms. You can work with your internet service providers to gather data, survey your community, facilitate community conversations, and create a plan to serve your residents, right? So this is language pulled directly from the Notice of Funding Opportunity. It really lists out some of the goals for a broadband feasibility study, which we just kind of talked about, community vision and goals, identify your plan team members, looking at your local data and your need, especially your demographic data, your current availability and access, et cetera. You're also going to want to look at a clear timeline for your progress, right? A plan without action is just a plan. So make sure that you have a timeline in there as well. Again, this is all in the NOFO, so feel free to take a look at that. The study will evaluate the availability and quality of a broadband internet service in a given community. We say that, the three-legged stool, we want it to be reliable, we want it to be affordable, and we want to make sure that it gets everywhere it needs to be, right? So it's scalable. We are also looking at that study to generate a report. You can use that report then to move forward in your community, right? So you're looking at things like the current state of the infrastructure. Is your area mostly copper cable? Is it fiber? Is something like a fixed wireless project going to work better for you, or even satellite, something like that? What's going to work best for your area, and how is it going to meet those affordability and reliability standards, right? The estimated capital operational costs, you need to know what it's going to cost. What if we do all fiber? What's that going to cost versus what if we do wireless? How are those things, the pros and cons, et cetera, right? You want to make sure that you're putting enough capital toward the project. And also the financial viability of planned and proposed projects. We're still talking about, in a lot of places, a business venture, right? So, in a couple of years, kind of estimating how many people will be subscribed, what kind of profit will be generated from that, et cetera, et cetera. Feel free to take a look at all of those things. That is what we like to see. You have some key components here too, like doing a broadband audit, asset mapping situation. Not only that, internet speed testing. We did a lot of that this summer when we did the BEAD challenge, because that's a good way to see where your speeds are and whether it's reliable throughout the day, right? If everybody is on and you get really low speeds, but if nobody's on, you get really high speeds, that's something to know, right? Customer satisfaction is also a good one, because if you are putting in with an ISP, you want to know what their service is like, whether they are helping people, whether there are barriers to their service, etc. Right? Uh, Demographic and spatial analysis, like we say, we want to make sure that the internet is getting everywhere you need it to. That includes sometimes vertical asset studies. So we partner with our friends over at ISU to do that, because you want your internet towers at the highest points in your area, right? So you need to do a study of where the tallest places in your area are. That would be a good place to put those towers, et cetera, et cetera. You really want to get those stakeholder interviews as well. Make sure that you are serving everyone in your community in the way that they need to be served, as well as that pricing, financial analysis, those sorts of things. So our friend Tony Grant couldn't be here with us today, but he was talking about their Accelerate Access McLean County organization there. So McLean County is in that north central region. That's Bloomington, Normal, and Peoria. Um, they had a lot of community partners to come through. Not only their education, their school systems, their local action agencies. Of course, they've got Illinois State University there, all sorts of folks who came together to make this happen. They did their study and they were looking for these particular things. You can see how they mapped out those regions that most need internet access there. They wanted to continue outreach to identify ISPs, as well as mapping resources for those ISPs. A lot of internet service providers have those mapping resources, but if you're looking to support maybe a small local ISP or a co-op, they need some support to get access to those resources. To conduct that feasibility, and that will create the framework for their work. And then, of course, looking at those opportunities to secure funding, of which, of course, are grant opportunities, are part of that, right? So whether they were working on the infrastructure side of things with their Connect Illinois program, whether they are looking to support people in their digital equity um, activities through the capacity grant, what are those funding sources? Are there local funding sources? Are there industries that would like to invest in broadband? Et cetera, et cetera. Also, um, locating and improving processes related to permitting. This is something that's really big. It's something our policy team is actively working on to kind of create those best practices related to permitting and work orders and all of those sorts of things. Dig once um, initiatives, all of those. So I know that that Tony has a better kind of understanding of what their process was than I do at this moment, but he is always happy to answer any questions. So if this is something, a direction that your team is looking to go in, feel free, send him an email. He's so wonderful and so knowledgeable, and he'd be really happy to answer your questions. Anyone, before we move on there, anyone want to unmute, have any questions for me that we can answer right this moment? Let's look.
Hi, if I could ask one question about this program, Accelerate
Yeah.
Access. Was this program funded by your department?
So yes, this particular one, McLean County was part of our broadband breakthrough program that we conduct or we support with the Benton Institute and the Soybean Association. And they then used our DEC grant. So this was kind of a pilot program for the capacity grant. That's Digital Equity Capacity Kickstarter grant. And they use that funding to complete this feasibility study. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. I'm just noticing I do have several direct messages in the chat. If you would want to send those publicly, then that way people can see them and we can answer them at the end. Okay. Thank you so much. Well, let us move on here. We are going to be talking about computer technology centers next. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I was a public librarian for about 10 years, and any worked in a library or goes to the public library a lot, you know that computer tech centers are, at this point, a really, really resource that your library can give you. So let's just do a quick overview of this kind of project. So computer centers should access to computers, internet connectivity, and support for using those computers. The funding can be used to get new equipment, acquire equipment, or update equipment, and to fund expenses required to manage the space. Applicants should demonstrate the need for a computing center, just like we say, we always want to see your community need, and also demonstrate the level of commitment and appropriate skills to manage the computer center. You can't very well just have a room full of computers and just say, come in anytime, right? You've got to have someone in the room that knows how everything works, knows how to help people when they have problems, and knows how to maintain the space. So we're just talking about these three things here established. So you're making a new lab or tech center in a new place. You're improving your tech center. So maybe you're just updating your devices, updating your software, or allowing your current center to provide up-to-date, better functionality for about the same number of clients, right? Maybe a few more. You can also expand. You can provide more or better devices. You can increase your footprint or, create something mobile that can go out in the world, provide more or different functionality for more people. So you can do any one of these things. You can, do a combination of them as you move forward. Now, we're not going to go through all of these, but we highly recommend that you consider the unique needs of the people that you serve, right? So you want to make sure that it serves a lot of different kinds of people, but it is also useful for what you are going to use it for. So maybe consider flexible spaces where you can move tables and things around for different kinds of classes, or to support people with mobility challenges. Make sure you've got some accessibility concerns in place there for devices, software, magnifiers, et cetera, et cetera. Lighting options that are good for folks. We've all worked somewhere where we've had to squint at our screens and get some eye strain. We don't like to see that. And also make sure that you're open at times that work for your clients, right? A lot of your folks probably they might work during the day, and if you're only open 9 to 5, you might be missing out on a lot of people that could use your space by having some evening hours. Also, a cleaning and maintenance plan. Keep in mind that these are high touch objects. And not only am I reminding everyone to wash their hands with everything going around, but you've got to make sure that your devices are clean and safe to use, right? Also consider privacy. If you're providing space for telehealth, that's something that people are going to want privacy for. You don't want to be talking to your doctor about very private things out in the middle of a computer center, or even legal counseling, things like that. You want to make sure that people have some private spaces if that's something that you anticipate supporting, that sort of thing. We also, this also has a couple of more things to think about. Promotion and outreach. That's all going to be part of every project, right? You want to make sure that the people you're targeting know about your project, what you are doing, how they can get there, et cetera, et cetera. IT maintenance and troubleshooting. This is a big one. Again, computers have to be maintained. You have to make sure that they have all of the updates they need, that the cybersecurity is being taken care of, or if you have issues and you need to troubleshoot them. Maybe you have someone in-house, maybe you can contract with someone who comes in to help with that. What is your plan? Also, consider your user behavior. Working in public libraries for 10 years, it gives you a sense of user behavior can sometimes be all over the place. So make sure you consider some policies and procedures to address things like people bringing food or beverages in. Do you want cups and liquids to be next to your computers, or do you want a separate space for them? What happens if you have unruly folks? Maybe some young people running around, or people who get angry and throw stuff. What are you going to do there? Also consider, if people are accessing maybe not safe for work things in your public area. We are going to include some resources here specifically from the American Library Association. Of course, we are not big fans of censorship, but just to have a plan and to see what you will do in that situation. Also consider personal information. In the library world, librarians are often not allowed to interact with people's personal information. They might be able to help navigate a form, they might be able to help people with, say, an application or something, but they're not able to take people's information or put it into a form for them. If that's something that you're looking at helping people with, maybe consider how your staff will interact with this information and have some training about how to handle people's personal information. Think about that. I think next here we have our good friend Hannah Miller. Is Hannah on the call today?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Hannah. Yes. Hannah is the director of the Carlinville Public Library, and they were also an awardee of our IDEC grant. And so I'm going to let Hannah tell you about all of the improvements that they're doing with that funding.
Thanks so much. So our program isn't fancy or complicated. We're a small public library in rural Illinois in Macoupin County. I checked with the census data to make these slides. We're at a 25% poverty rate, which is incredible. Last year, we had 22,000 patrons through our doors. 1,500 were using our computers for public access sessions last year. So when I applied for the DEC grant in August of 2023, we had 5 public access computers, 3 in a little computer lab, 1 in the kids area, and 1 in our genealogy space. But all of the computers were over 10 years old. We really needed to do something quickly. We also were advised by our IT company that our computers wouldn't be able to be upgraded to Windows 11. So we had about 2 years to figure out what to do. And of course, our budget just doesn't stretch like that. So we were in a crunch. At that time, I was also trying to get some basic technology classes started at the library at the request of some regular patrons. We called it Encouraging Technology and tried to make learning new tech as welcoming as possible. Class examples at that time were like taking better photos with your iPhone, spotting scams online, buying online using Venmo and cashless payments. But we couldn't offer any just basic computer classes because we would have to shut down our computer lab to do that and kick everyone out so that we could have the class. And the class would only consist of 3 people because we only had 3 computers. So it just wasn't going to work for us, but I knew that there was a need. We also have a stop motion animation club that was started by a young patron. And that meets every month, but we had to ask that they bring their own computers or devices because we didn't have computers to loan them. I brought my iPad. I let them borrow my laptop from home just to fill a gap, but it wasn't a good solution. So we provided the Lego, the clay, and other stuff to use. I did buy some manual focus webcams that they could connect to their devices, to their Chromebooks. But yeah, the club was kind of flagging because we couldn't offer devices for everyone. So that's our background. The exciting part is that we just got our new computers, our new desktop computers for the computer lab 2 weeks ago. So we officially have 5 computers in the computer lab that are always open for public use. And then we have 2 computers in genealogy, and we'll have 1 in the children's space. Or 6, I mean, 6 laptops or 6 computers in the computer lab. Sorry, it's all new. So we just received them 2 weeks ago. A few of our regular patrons they noticed right away, and they're really excited for them. We do have patrons who come in and they don't say anything, and I just think like they rightly expect the computers to not be something they have to struggle with. So I'm really excited that we can provide that for them now. We also have the laptops for classroom use, and they just came last week. And I do have a slide, one, not this slide, but the next one, that will show our new laptops set up in the room that we use. So again, this isn't like a fancy room, but it's our meeting room, the one that we have. And so we'll be using these laptops in, I guess, next week. February 19th is the first time that we use them for a computer basics class. And we are very excited about that. Do I have control of the slide?
Oh, sorry. There we are.
Thank you. There's our community tech center, our computer lab that will be open all the time. And then following that are the laptops. On the next slide. Don't they look lovely? So yeah, we're starting the classes on February 19th. That is our very first one. And after that, we're going to be holding 2 basic computer classes every month for adults into summer, and then we'll kind of reassess and see where that's going, if we need to do them again, like do the same classes over again, or if we need to keep going with different classes. And we'll just see how it goes. I see in the chat who leads the computer classes. It's going to be me at first. What I didn't write anywhere in what I'm talking about is that we got another grant called the Digital Learn grant from the Public Library Association. And that will give me a script to go by with these very basic computer classes. There's computer basics, there will be internet basics, there's mobile phone basics, and these really are very basic classes. So I do feel comfortable teaching. And I do have a digital art background, so and that's where I'm going next. In the future, I am really excited to be able to offer these maybe digital art classes for kids or digital art classes for adults too, if there's interest. So this is our stop motion animation club. The little sign on the left side of your screen is it was made by the kid who proposed the class to me. His name is Jude, and he led the first class to teach everyone how to do it. So I have that up in my office, and I just think it's my favorite thing. He also made this little video. It's a 5-second clip, if it works. And so, yeah, there we go. So we'll be able to use laptops and iPads when they come for the stop motion class, and let the kids use those. And then we'll see where it goes from there. Like I said, we have the 2 classes per month scheduled into the spring and summer. We'll publicize stop motion again, because I feel like kids maybe were dissuaded from coming because we couldn't provide for them. And then we'll add some digital art classes and just see where we go. So we're very thankful for the DEC grants. It's really allowing us to step up our game for our patrons. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hannah, for sharing with us. Can I ask you very quickly, back here, we were talking about the software that you had on your computers, and I'm familiar with how deep freeze and the other security software works. Do you just kind of want to give us a little second about what deep freeze is, how it can work in a computer lab setting?
Sure. Because we are a public library and we allow anyone to use our computers, we have special security on them. We contract with a tech company. It's Laserware. They do a lot of libraries. So they install certain programs. Deep Freeze is one of them, where it will wipe the computer completely clear of all data. After you've used the computer, you just have to restart the computer and everything is wiped out. So it's just back to a fresh space to work. Nobody's files are on there. So that is a must in a public library. We also have a secure network for patrons and a secure network for staff. So they are separate. And I don't know all of the other protections. That's just what Laserware does for us. We pay them a monthly fee, and it's been worth it for us. Just anytime there's a computer problem or a network problem, I just know I can call them, and they know what to do. So
Yeah, it's a really great example of working with a contractor, right? If you don't have your in-house IT team, it's nice to have that
it's
that option.
a
Yeah.
good backup for sure. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again, Hannah, so much.
Thank
And
you.
if you're
Thank
ever
you.
down in Muscoota County, go down there and see some Carlinville Public Library. Go
McCoupin.
see some stop motion. McCoupin, I'm so sorry. I can't talk today. Uh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will see you again soon.
Sounds good.
So
Thank you.
as we move on, oh, here we are. Yes. What's next?
Oh, yep. I already said, but February 19th is our first class. We're hosting classes once or twice a month. Um, and then, oh, we'll also have office hours so that we can schedule one-on-one tech help. Sometimes people don't want to bother us or something. So we offer this, and that's a whole hour that's just carved out for anyone to schedule and come in and talk. So
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
thank you.
All right. Well, we want to remind you that we also have some resources here. We have our brand newly refreshed Illinois Office of Broadband website. We've got some new resources there, including our toolkits. Those will be along with every single one of our support webinars here that will give you specific resources around that topic, as well as some that are more general. So tips and tricks on how to write a great grant application and things like that. Keep an eye on that Illinois State Digital Equity Plan that can help you look at the direction that your project might be going. And make sure that you're signed up for the newsletter and for our partner sign up. Any information that comes out will come through those particular channels. These are some examples of those toolkits, so keep an eye out for those. All right, well, we will move on to our upcoming webinars. We've got one more in this series here, the project areas digital navigators. We are also having office hours for the capacity grant. We're having those at Tuesdays at 10 a.m. and Fridays at 2 p.m. And for all of that sign up and all of that information, check out our brand new fancy events calendar that is also on the Illinois Office of Broadband website. Okay, I think we've got plenty of time here for some Q&A. If you have any questions, I think we've got several questions going on. Here we go.
Thanks, Hillary. I know that you were doing a little bit of the fielding in the chat, and I appreciate that. We've got a question here about recordings from the past webinars. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a link in the chat to the playlist that has those recordings. But the other thing I can do is make sure that that link is forwarded onto you for when you send up the follow-up email for today, so folks can see today's recording, but also for the whole series.
Yes, you can also find our previous webinars on our brand new website under the previous webinars tab. We are getting all of these for this series on there, and they will also be linked to those toolkits. So keep an eye out.
And then if you could just orient me real quick, I know you're looking up the chat. Is there several questions that still need to be addressed? I was not sure if some of those got addressed within the presentation.
Here we go. How will you sustain, this is to our office. I think Donald had asked it. How will you sustain your expanded digital inclusion efforts once this particular grant goes away? Or was that for Hannah?
I'm happy to
Okay.
jump in, Hillary, if you want me to share some
Yeah.
context, but if Hannah has thoughts also. Um, yeah, I think this is a very real question. And one thing that we've incorporated in the grant application is asking applicants how they would contribute to those ideas of sustainability. So whether that's building a program into another existing institution like a hospital, a school, a housing authority that may have funding for this, whether it's working with philanthropy to sustain the work. We are looking to answer this question in partnership with you all. So we kind of look forward to being on this journey together and to hearing your ideas.
Thank you so much, Devin. I'm also looking here. Leighton was asking for sub-county or other neighborhood networks. What are models for engaging or partnering with regional planning councils? Um, I very much encourage you to mod or to partner with your regional planning councils. One thing you can do, I will definitely drop Tony Grant's information in there because they partnered with their county planning folks to be able to work toward that feasibility study. So they worked with them, and then also um, you say community forums for planning and evaluating broadband maps, outreach campaigns. That's all excellent ideas. I don't think you need my help there. All of those things are wonderful. And if you ever would like some models or specific kind of tips and tricks for hosting those community stakeholder meetings, that's what we're here for. So give us an email there at broadband@illinois.gov if you have any particular specific questions, and we can help with that. So, all sorts of good ones. Any others, real quick? I think there's some new ones at the bottom here.
Yeah, I see we've got one. We intend to apply for funding under the Illinois Digital Equity Capacity Grant Program opportunity. However, we need to confirm if the grant agreement for this announcement has been established and if it contains standard non-negotiable language. For example, if the language in the grant agreement conflicts with laws and regulations our organization is bound by, is there an opportunity to adjust the language if the grant agreement terms and conditions are a matter of policy and not law if funded? Always good to clarify.
Yeah,
Always good to clarify. I might also, if Devin's still around,
yeah,
maybe
I can jump in.
might have some clarification there.
Sure. So our department, DCEO, does have a standard grant template where we'll indicate which terms and which policies apply to the respective grant program. So we have not yet created the grant agreement for this opportunity, but would be happy to share perhaps like a past grant agreement with you if you'd like to see an example. And maybe just to get ahead of your question, Lavinia, if there are specific terms or policies that have like conflicted with your organization's policies in the past that you're concerned about, maybe flag those so we can check specifically. And I saw your question in our inbox. So if you want to just reply to that email with your specific concerns, and then we can give it a targeted review.
Thank you. Not sure if you were able to address this one. Wondering, there was a question around the special populations. I think that means those vulnerable populations covered by digital equity funding. What I think this is for Hannah. Do you do 2-hour afternoon times weekly or bi-weekly? It looks like she already answered that, so I apologize. I'm just trying to make sure that everyone's questions got addressed. What about, is there a plan for funding after the initial 3 years?
Yeah, I think we just addressed that one.
Yep. Okay.
I would love to give Hannah a chance maybe to share out. So I see there's a question about what was the biggest hurdle to setting up the computer center. Hannah, if you want to expand on what you shared in the chat, that would be great.
Sure. I was just typing that I would say the biggest hurdle would be we weren't starting from scratch. We already had computers in the lab. They were just very old. So as we were adding a few more computers, I had to make sure that we weren't adding too many, because once this grant is over, once we get the computers, we do have to pay to maintain them. So I wanted to be realistic about that.
And then here's a question I think has been asked in other sort of forums and around other grants that we've had webinars around. If applicants can connect with people who have had past projects, that if there's program contact information available for other, I think in this case, digital inclusion programs out there that may have been funded in the past, or if anyone feels like have a good example to share. So I don't want to answer that for anybody, but I am immediately thinking of Alicia's group that meets monthly. But any comments there from our panelists?
Yes, absolutely. That is what we are here for. So if you don't want to reach out directly or need some contact information, let us know and we can help set you all up. That's the great thing about our wonderful digital equity ecosystem is everybody is so helpful and willing to share, especially when we're talking best practices and business and program models. So yes, absolutely do. We don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. So I think I saw one here. If we've still got Hannah, what are some of the biggest outreach challenges you faced in getting community members engaged with digital literacy programs?
Well, knowing where to find them. We have kind of we have a wonderful board member who writes press releases for us for the local papers. He also is in touch with the local radio stations, so he'll get the word out for us that way. I'm also making flyers that will go to the senior center. So we just had to think beyond Facebook and our website. We had to think about other places where people will go, especially older populations and those who don't have access. So that was a challenge.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I agree, when you're trying to get the word out to improve your computer skills, it's not always the best I just use computer, right? I have found local radio is still so powerful. People listen to the radio. So ads that way, those print flyers, as you said. I think some of the challenges too is if you're casting your net so broadly, sometimes you really want to target your population. So like you say, if you're really wanting to get some seniors in, talk to where they are. If you're looking for maybe who speak other languages, maybe find someone who can work with you, who can go into the community, go to a meeting or something like that, who can, translate your flyers, those sorts of things. So really think about who you're trying to attract and what's going to work specifically for them is what I say. But fantastic. All
So
right.
I appreciate your time today, and Devin and Hannah and yourself, Hillary. I wonder if you have any takeaways for everyone beginning of the week and with deadlines approaching. Any sort of takeaway? What are you thinking, or what questions would you ask if you were a participant?
Well, for myself, we always recommend that you reach out to us with any questions. Grants are big and scary. Broadband is a huge, huge, huge project. So if you run into something and you need a quick question answered, we're all here for you. We're not faceless people behind a screen, right? email us anytime and we can help you out. Okay. So keep that in mind. Get into our office hours. We love talking with you. So don't be afraid. Call us up. That's what I would say.
Thank you. And I have folks in extension that have questions around digital equity sometimes, and I try to translate sometimes and explain that this honestly, if you're trying to figure out what would be a meaningful project for a locality, your specific unit or county that you're assigned to in Illinois, or maybe if you're not an extension, but you have a service area and you know of some systemic or historic quality of life issues for those areas, to really brainstorm and research what are the digital solutions to those quality of
Mhm.
life issues. And if you look at the vulnerable populations and kind of shape how that quality of life issue manifests for vulnerable populations under the digital equity funding, then looking at digital solutions for quality of life issues for vulnerable populations is a great framework to start brainstorming projects that are made up of those digital inclusion activities that could help move folks forward, whether it's within access, adoption, or use.
Mhm. And in that same vein, think about who's around you. So a lot of folks have called us up and said, listen, I want to get stuff going in our area, but I feel like I'm working in a vacuum. I'm working all on my own. I promise you, you are not. There are people in every area in the state who are trying to do good work of getting everybody connected, everybody with digital skills. So if you feel that way, you feel like you're alone, let us know because we match make with the best. So we can get you all the contact information, people in your area.
Well,
All
thank you.
right. Well,
Without further ado, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all back on February 14th.
absolutely. Like we said, contact us. We've got northern, central, and southern people there for you. And anything you need, let us know. Thank you so much.
Have a good week, everyone. Hope to see you on Friday.